And there's nobody better to keep this momentum going than the next speaker, who straddles that line in a critical way. And that is Ms. Selma Ruiz. Ms. Ruiz was the 2016 NatureBridge Student of the Year. She's a young woman who, when the opportunity to explore Yosemite with her class came about, and with NatureBridge, she stopped at nothing to raise the funds, to source the gear, and to soak up every moment of the experience. She is a young woman who radiates environmental education and spreads the message far and wide. Selma represents a generation we are perhaps the most proud of. The group of young people who are poised and who are motivated, exposed, ambitious, and largely carry equity and justice as core values. Selma represents an America that I am proud to be a part of. And we should all feel proud that NatureBridge plays such a large role in her story. Thank you very much, and welcome, Selma Ruiz.
Thank you so much. My name is Selma Ruiz, and I was the NatureBridge Student of the Year when I was in 6th grade. I am so thrilled to be back, to be welcomed into the NatureBridge family as always, to celebrate NatureBridge's 50th year anniversary, and to share a little bit about how NatureBridge changed my life. As crazy as it sounds, those middle school trips changed the trajectory of my entire life. From middle school to high school, all the way to college, NatureBridge has touched every aspect of who I am. And it all started in Yosemite in 6th grade. NatureBridge gave me the opportunity that my family was never able to provide. It was my first time going camping. I was beyond excited, and this trip impacted me more than I can even say. I grew up in Southern California, and while it is so beautiful there, nothing compares to experiencing a forest for the very first time. To stand in the shadow of trees so tall I couldn't even see the tops of them. My 11-year-old heart bursted when we saw Yosemite Falls for the first time. When we hiked through fields of blooming wildflowers, when we dipped our feet in the freezing cold Merced River water. So many amazing memories were made that I will cherish forever during that first trip. It was then again in 7th grade that I had the privilege to go on another NatureBridge trip, this time to the Olympic Peninsula. Now, if Yosemite blew my mind, you can only imagine the utter shock I felt when our bus rode into the park for the very first time. There was moss so green it looked like it was spray painted, and it hung in trees surrounded by air so thick with moisture, my hair got damp just by standing outside. I still get goosebumps remembering the landscape, the plants, the trees, the memories that we made during that trip. My world was literally expanding before my very eyes. Scenes that I had only seen in pictures and library books were suddenly surrounding me, and I felt a connection to our world that I had never felt before. I even wrote in my journal the very last night we were there. Every time I look in the trees, I think about how happy I am that they're here, that this place exists. It was at this point that all of the lessons that we had learned during our trip really sunk in, and I understood what conservation meant. I wanted these places to exist forever. My final trip was in 2016 when I was in 8th grade. It was bittersweet, my last trip before high school, but also a trip that was much closer to home, practically in my own backyard in the Santa Monica Mountains. Out of all the trips, I think this one might have surprised me the most. An environment that I grew up surrounded by was suddenly so new and interesting and more beautiful than I had ever noticed before. I learned to have a deep appreciation for every single ecosystem that I had the privilege of visiting, And through experiencing them all individually, I came to really understand the role that our environment has, not just in my own life and experiences, but for our entire planet. Living in nature for a week throughout all my middle school years allowed me to see, feel, touch, be surrounded by the science that we learned about inside our classrooms. NatureBridge made science real. But these experiences didn't just give me memories and happy times, they also really inspired me. In fact, they inspired me so much, I remember coming home, instantly researching how I could work in these places one day. In Yosemite, in the Olympic Peninsula, in the Santa Monica Mountains. I wanted to be an active part of preserving these places. In high school, I joined the Model Youth in Government Club just so that I could learn about how real laws and policies were made. I wanted to see how change was created in the real world so that I could help make that happen. My interest in environmental stewardship and learning about environmental policies stuck with me throughout high school up until college, where I immediately declared as an environmental studies major with an emphasis in conservation and policymaking, and a minor in politics. And now that I'm in my second year at the University of California, Santa Cruz, I am working hard for my major, and I'm involved in internships and research on campus so that I can continue expanding my knowledge about what science looks like in the real world and how I can bridge the connection between what I love and protecting it. My whole life changed once I had the opportunity to truly experience and learn in nature. NatureBridge is an invaluable resource for not only teaching children about our environment, but for also creating future stewards for our planet. How can children truly advocate and love the earth if so many of them never have the privilege of experiencing it, of touching it, or being surrounded by it? My story is one of just many kids who were touched and impacted by NatureBridge, and for many, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity they give to go on a camping trip, who otherwise might never go and see the forest that I got to see, to touch the rivers that I got to touch, or to learn in the environments that I got to learn in. I know that my life was impacted. How many other kids might be impacted if we just give them the opportunity to connect with our world in a way that only living in nature can bring? Thank you so much.